All right, so thank you for tuning in and chomping at the bit. I am Kyle Edwards, of course. So this episode, we're going to talk about the final game from Wildcard Weekend and the final piece to the divisional round slate that will be coming up this weekend. So basically, it was at this point, the winner between the Cardinals and the Rams were going to go to Tampa Bay, face the Buccaneers in the divisional round. All the other matchups were set at this point. So this game was at SoFi Stadium out in LA. I did pick the Rams to win and cover in this matchup. And basically from the first half, we knew that this game was over. So just, I guess, in case you didn't know, the Rams ended up winning 34-11. Won it pretty easily, handily, whatever adjective you want to use. The Rams were dominant in this matchup. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals offense had no answers for the Rams defense. And I can't really say it was just the defense, because there were times where Kyler Murray dropped back and it got to the point where it looked like he didn't trust his eyes in what he was seeing from the Rams defense. So because of that, when he did attempt to make a few throws, the timing was off. And then there was others where he just held on to the ball because I guess at that point he wasn't fully committed to any route, because he was questioning whether the defense would get there or not. He threw 2 interceptions in the game, and one maybe the worst you probably ever seen in a playoff game. They were backed up to their own goal line. He dropped back. It was one of those instances where he held the ball way too long, and the Rams got pressure on him. They even got to him, and as he was going down to avoid the safety, he kind of just flung the football out towards a receiver. I think it was Akers, the running back. I think. And the pass was, intercepted by, hold on a second. Yeah, Long Jr. And it was a pick six. It was like 2 yards. So probably the shortest pick six you'll ever see. And like I said, it was a terrible decision by Kyler Murray. Because yes, you don't want to take the sack for the safety, but I guess he was supposed to, he should have recognized the pressure a little earlier. That way he could have gotten out of the pocket, and then worst case, just throw it out of bounds or whatever. Because I think it was 3rd down at that point. So yes, it would have made it tough on your punter, because being on like the 1 yard line, usually punters like 15 yards at least to, give them some space between the line and themselves. So if you're on the 1, you're now giving your punter only about 10 yards. Probably goes to the 9. So all around, like I said, bad game for Kyler Murray in the offense. Defense, they gave up 34 yards, and it looked like the Rams could basically do whatever they wanted. Now, I understand that the atmosphere there, it was loud. You could see that the team was feeding off of it because the Rams defense was everywhere. Hard hitting as well. And then Stafford in the offense, like I said, they found pockets in the Cardinals defense. And because of that, you get 34-11. So for the Cardinals, this kind of a continuation of their less than their subpar performances for the last about month and a half of the season, after they had done so well early in the year. It completely fell off. And like I said, this unfortunately was the icing on the cake of miserable play from them. Whatever, the Rams, Matt Stafford gets his first playoff win. I think in Detroit, he started one game in the playoffs with the Lions and they lost. So he finally gets his playoff win. For a guy as talented as he is as a quarterback in terms of, arm strength and all that, it's hard to believe that this was his first career playoff win. But then again, the Detroit organization is a mess, so you understand there. For the Rams and Stafford as well, it was good to get this one out of the way because, like I said, coming into the playoffs, the Rams do have a lot of pressure on them because, you're coming off of the offseason where you trade your quarterback Goff away to Detroit. You get Stafford back, who's clearly an upgrade over Goff. And we saw Goff take, the Rams to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. So if you're upgrading that position, then the expectation is that you'll be able to get back, I'd say, to at least the NFC Championship game. Because there's plenty of talent on this roster. Offensively, you're looking at Sony Michel, good running back. Stafford, like I said, upgrade over Goff. You have Cooper Kupp, probably probably the best wide receiver. But he's definitely one of the best wide receivers in the league. At times, uncoverable. You have Odell Beckham, who we saw in this game. We saw him not only as a receiver, but on one trick play, we saw him actually throw the ball. He hit Cam Akers down the right side on a big play, which we've seen Odell throw before, but you could kind of tell that he's definitely engaged with this team. I know in his mind he probably understands that since his days in New York, they didn't really have a team that you thought of as possibly a Super Bowl team. Then his years in Cleveland were, I would say, probably underwhelming as a whole. But now with this group, he understands the chance he can make a Super Bowl with this team. So you just see him playing a little bit looser. It just looks like he's just having a lot of fun. So with him opposite Kupp, creates a dynamic duo there in terms of defenses trying to cover the pass. Defensively, you have Aaron Donald. You have Jalen Ramsey, who's one of the top corners in the league. And you also have Von Miller, who they got from Denver midseason. Leonard Floyd. So there's some guys on this defense. And, of course, it's going to get tougher for them from here on out because now they get Tampa Bay. And we know that Tampa Bay, when they're clicking, their offense is a high-powered one. I'm not going to break down that matchup. That's later in the week. But yeah, so Rams are moving on, and now the divisional round is set. On the AFC side, we've got for the divisional round, just a quick little side note here. The top seeds in the conference are now in play in terms of the playoff bracket. So this will be the top seeds' first game of the playoffs as they're now off their bye. So the AFC, the 1 seed Titans now get Cincinnati going into their building. And then the second matchup in the AFC, you have a rematch of last year's AFC title game between Buffalo and the Chiefs, or Buffalo going out to Kansas City. And then on the NFC side, you have your 1 seed Packers will be welcoming the 49ers in, who knocked off the Cowboys. We all know about that. Niners are the 6th seed, the lowest seed left in the playoffs. Then second game in NFC, you have your 2 seed Tampa welcoming the Rams into their building. So, divisional round is now set. In terms of the wild card round, I did pick all 6 games. I went 6-0, just picking straight up the winner. And then against the spread, I went 5-1. The only one I missed was the Patriots game. I took the Patriots +5, I believe the line was, and we all know they got blown out by 30. But every other one got right. So off to a good start so far in the playoffs. Once again, I will do divisional round picks later in the week. But we'll see if we can keep up the good percentage so far. But yeah, so back to the wild card round. I'll say on the whole, on a scale of 1 to 10, I think this wild card round was probably around I'm going to have to knock some points off for a lot of the games being blowouts. Yeah, like a 5.5 out of 10. Because even with the blowouts, it wasn't like a miserable weekend, you know. The Niners-Cowboys game was probably the most entertaining, maybe. I mean, it was good to see the Bengals end their drought, so that was definitely a plus from the weekend. We saw the Buffalo team that a lot of people thought was a Super Bowl contender before the year. We saw a little bit of that in their game against New England. Pittsburgh, Kansas City was probably the worst game of the weekend. And most likely the end of Big Ben's career. But that was, I guess, cool to watch. Eagles, Bucks game. I just said 49ers Cowboys probably the best game of the weekend. And then Cardinals Rams was. I mean, Cardinals Rams could have been the worst game of the weekend, to be honest. Only because Kyler Murray is probably the worst quarterback of the weekend. And going into the playoffs, if I had told you that Kyler Murray was going to look the worst out of any well, let me take a step back there. Because we did have Big Ben. But based off of expectations, I would say Kyler Murray was the most disappointing quarterback of the wild card round. I guess real quickly, see disappointment. Let's see, yeah. So Kyler Murray won. I mean, I would say Big Ben too, but I wasn't expecting a lot out of him anyway. We can say Big Ben too. You know, it was him going out party, so didn't really show the best. And probably go Dak 3. Jalen Hurts 4. Maybe Mac 5, and then Derek Carr. Yeah, that's probably how I'd rank them from the 6 losing teams from wild card weekend. So, let's see what it is. Okay, so I did want to talk a little bit. Let's do that in this one or another episode. But I want to talk a little bit about these openings that we're starting to see and some of the names that are popping up for some of these coaching searches. I don't know if any of you have paid attention to that, but hold on a second. I mean, the hot names that we're hearing in terms of the coaching carousel. Brian Flores, the guy got fired from Miami, which said was a shock. Jim Harbaugh, we're hearing. Now, it'd be interesting to see if he were to leave Michigan, which job would be the attractive one to him. Now, for me, and I think rumors are the Raiders may be looking at him, and I think that would be That'd be an interesting job to take because, you know, if you keep Derek Carr, you have a good quarterback. Not a great quarterback, but you have a good quarterback. I mean, problem is if you stack him up against his division, he looks kind of weak because you have Mahomes, Herbert, and then Carr probably slides in at number 3. Depending on what happens with Denver, because we know Denver's been linked to, Aaron Rodgers at one point. I think Russell Wilson. So if they were able to bring in a veteran quarterback like that, then Carr may end up being the worst quarterback in the division. But they are a playoff team, so you have a good base to start with. Interesting name is Gerard Mayo, the linebackers coach from New England. We're hearing his name kicked around. We're also hearing some names that are a little iffy to me because I think the Cowboys coordinators are getting an interview. So that's Dan Quinn and Kellen Moore. And I mean, if you're going to base it off of that playoff game, I don't think either one of them deserves a shot right now. And especially Quinn, we saw what he could do with the Falcons. Now, I mean, with the Falcons, he had pretty bad defenses. Cowboys was a decent defense except for that playoff game when it was needed. So I don't know what to think there, but I would say that those two probably need to have another prove-it year before they get into the carousel. But will be interesting. And what other names? Well, Daboll, the OC from Buffalo, that makes sense because he was talked about last year. There are a couple of surprising names that are out there. Jim Caldwell, only because I didn't know if he was still kind of on the minds of any of these teams, but he's getting interviews. Doug Peterson, if you remember him, he was the Eagles coach when they won their Super Bowl over the Patriots. And he's been out of the league 2 years now or something. But he's getting interviews. Of course, whenever you're talking about the coaching carousel, there's going to be an eye on minority candidates, of course. And especially with the way Flores was fired in Miami, there's probably going to be a closer eye to it this time around. I fully expect Flores to get a job. I think Todd Bowles may get one because he's the defensive coordinator in Tampa. And the further Tampa goes in the playoffs here, the better he's going to look. And then same with Tampa Bay, you have Byron Leftwich, who's trying to get into coaching. And I mean, what better resume than, the offensive coordinator for Tom Brady. So he's looking good as well. Also have Leslie Frazier, who's the defensive coordinator for Buffalo. And we saw that Buffalo defense play really well against New England, so he's looking good as well. So I would be absolutely shocked if... How many positions are open? So the Bears job, Broncos job, Texans job, Jaguars, Raiders, Dolphins, Vikings, and the Giants. So that's 8 jobs. If no minority candidate gets one of these 8 jobs, then this is going to be a real big problem. As I said before, the 8 jobs aren't exactly that bad. There's a couple situations that are a little iffy. The Houston job, we know with Watson hanging over the head, what's going to happen there. the overall organization and its, ineptitude these past few years. But outside of that, I could find a positive with almost any other job. Giants one as well is a little iffy, but I think the Giants are in a situation where they could turn that around pretty quickly there. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Just wanted to talk about that really quickly. Just to let you know, interviews are happening. It is a little tricky with the playoffs because you try to interview some personnel from a team that's in the playoffs. And the deeper the team goes, some of these teams got to wait a little longer. So now we're in the part where it's kind of wait and see, which job's the first one to be hired for. And then once that happens, we might just see a domino effect going on down the line. So, of course, if there's any news on a coaching hire, we'll definitely talk about it on here. But yeah, so thank you for tuning in. If you're new, hopefully you enjoyed the episode. You can subscribe, hit the like button, leave a review, comment, whatever, depending on where you're listening to it. And go over to Twitter, follow me at Chompin' Podcast. There you can interact with me as well. Or you can go to the Facebook page, Chompin' at the Bit. Follow that, or like that page, and then you can listen to episodes there as well, interact there as well. So, guess for the rest of the week, we'll do an NBA episode, probably the next one, to talk about some teams as we're getting around to the trade deadline. Some of these teams that are kind of floating around the middle, and by that I mean like the play-in tournament, and even might be below the play-in tournament right now. Are there some teams that have a core like duo or trio that might be getting a little stale, and maybe they should be thinking about moving some pieces around? And I'm going to focus on two teams primarily, the Celtics and the Lakers, talk about those two situations. But there's some other teams that I think we should be talking about as well, about, possibly shaking up the roster. So talk about that. And then after that, we'll see. Because there's going to be games with Saturday and Sunday for the divisional round. So after I talk about the NBA stuff, I'll probably get into divisional round preview type stuff. We'll see. A couple of other things I may talk about. But like I said, best way to find out when I drop an episode is subscribe. Or if you're over on YouTube, subscribe and then do the notification bell as well. So definitely do one or the other. But as I always say, be safe out there. God bless. I'll catch you next episode. All right, I'm out.